You met me deep in my despair to show me you would never leave me there. You claimed because I was made for so much more. I am your child, and I'm worth fighting for. Though heavy with the weight of my mistakes, you carry me and refuse to let it sink under the pressure you've been for me to soar. I am your child, and I'm worth fighting for. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all you have planned for me, and nothing can separate me from your love when there's so much more still worth fighting for. Now I'm moving by faith and not by sight toward victory, by the power of your might, straightening out my path and opening every door. I am your child, and I'm worth fighting for. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all you have planned for me, and nothing can separate me from your love when there's so much more still worth fighting for. Eyes haven't seen, no ears haven't heard. Oh no, come on, hear me sing tonight. And nothing can separate me from your love when there's so much more still worth fighting for. That's why I press toward the mark, because the calling of my life is worth fighting for. And I'll keep my mind steady on you, Jesus, because the peace it brings is worth fighting for. And I'll be faithful to my wife and children, because my family is worth fighting for. No, this world is not mine, but my new home is worth fighting for. And I got a mansion over in glory, and my new home is worth fighting for. Till I see it, I'll shout hallelujah here, hallelujah. Life with you is worth fighting. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard. There is so much more still worth fighting. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard. Hey, there is so much more still worth fighting for. Hey, hey, believe you're worth fighting for tonight? If you know faith is a fight, you better shout praise. Still worth fighting for.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody going? Great. Well, we have a treat again tonight, and I think we've been blessed thus far with our speaker here who's been talking on leadership from John Maxwell's teaching, and he's been doing a great job. Let's give him a hand, right? I've already played with him, but he just flew in from California. So this dude is bad. He just flew all the way in from California. He did a red eye. So I said, God, please give him strength. And I know that God will strengthen him as he ministers tonight. So I say to everyone here, I know you've had a long day, but let him feel you pull from him. You pull everything out of him so that he'll have the ability to keep going forward. With that in mind, let's receive Mr. Rock Brown. Come on, Rock.
leaders in the building? All right, turn to somebody and tell them that you are worthy of being a leader. You are deserving of being a leader. Convince them. Tell them you are capable of being a leader. And tell them I trust you as a leader. All right, that's good, that's good. So we've convinced somebody. All right, tonight we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that's growth. Because we know that if we don't grow, well, we're dying, right? So we're going to talk about growth. And the thing about tonight is you can apply this to any aspect of your life. So it's you individually, it's growth in your thinking, it's growth in your family, it's growth in the organization that you've built, it's growth in your business. It's just growth, period, because we are supposed to grow. And to get started, I have a 2-hour movie. You know, I got to bring a movie, right? I got a 2-hour movie to help set the tone for us. It's going to be 3 hours now. Reload it? Okay.
We hid cameras in 2 different cars, the Chevy Equinox with built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi and the Ford Escape.
That was over an 8-month period of time where an acorn went from an acorn to an oak tree. And tonight we're going to talk about growth, but we can't talk about growth. We're talking about the seed, the sower, and the surroundings. So we're going to talk a little bit about the seed, the sower, and the surroundings. Let's talk about some characteristics of growth first. Growth is a natural process. Anything that's ever been created, any living thing that's ever been created, was created to grow. And I was looking for something, I was trying to find something that was created, a living thing that has been created, that is created to die. I can't find anything. So anything and everything, including us, that was created, that's a living creature, was created to grow. So it's a natural process. And if we're not, and if there's some things that were created to help with the growth of other things. So any living thing was created to grow. Any non-living thing, like a thought, right, is created to grow as well. So we are naturally supposed to grow. It just happens. Grass just grows. It doesn't think about growing. It doesn't try to grow. It doesn't struggle to grow. It just grows. It's a natural process. Growth is gradual and adaptive. Has anyone ever gave birth to a 6'2" child? Right? The child is born as what, 21, 22 inches? And then that over time, that child grows up, right? So growth is gradual and it's adaptive. So oftentimes we look for immediate growth, right? We have to crock pot and expect growth to be more of a crock pot situation versus a microwave situation. Growth provides for continuous existence. So if I'm constantly growing and things around me are constantly growing, or I constantly grow an organization, a team, a cell group, a ministry, a family, it's almost impossible for the existence of that to stop. But if that growth stops, then the existence of it will stop, right? So growth will provide for us continuous existence. Growth creates confidence. Whenever we see growth, whenever we see expansion, whenever we see, even in a plant, I don't have a green thumb, but if I can make a plant grow, I feel good about that. I have confidence in that. When we see our children grow, what? We have confidence in that. When we see an organization go from really bad and we grow that organization, we feel confident about that. So growth will help build confidence. Growth will benefit many, many people, right? So if the growth that I have touches one or two people, then the people that I touch, it could touch someone else, and so on and so forth. So I don't know how many people are in here. Let's say there's 120 people in here, right? So if 10% of the folks go out and tell 10 other people just one thing that they learned that can help them, we just touched other people. If we got 1,000 people in here and 10% goes out, that's 100 people goes out and tells someone just one thing that they learned, we touched even more people, right? So growth, expansion will benefit many, not just me or not just you. Growth requires change. How many people like change? Everybody? Yeah, not too many hands. We know that there's no growth without change, right? I had a buddy he had crepe myrtle trees in his yard. And I didn't know a whole lot about crepe myrtle trees. And I went to his house one day, and he had cut the crepe myrtles. He had chopped them up. I'm like, man, they were beautiful in my eyes. He said, you ain't seen nothing yet. And what he did basically was he pruned those crepe myrtles. He changed their appearance. He changed their presence, right? But when they came back, they were fuller. They were bigger. And that was just one example of change. So if you expect to grow, expect to change. If you don't like change, you're not going to like growth because they work hand in hand, okay? Growth can guarantee a legacy. Growth can guarantee a legacy. Legacy should be something that we think about constantly because without legacy, then there's going to be a stoppage in something. When you're thinking about your legacy, you want to think about what legacy you want to leave. What do you want to leave? Who do you want to leave that legacy to? Right? And then at some point, you're going to have to pass that baton. But continuous growth ensures that there will be some type of legacy that you leave. Okay? All right, let's talk about the seed. Everything begins with the seed. Everything. Anything ever created, every living thing begins with the seed. That's pretty powerful. Any non-living thing began with the seed. Alexander Graham Bell at some point said, I want to talk to somebody who's not here. And he invented the telephone. Edison said, ooh, it's dark. I don't want to use oil-lit candles. I want to flip a switch and let there be light. Right? So it starts with a thought. So your thoughts are seeds as well. And everything, nothing starts without a seed, without a thought. Or if it's a living thing, without a physical seed. Okay? I learned something. The size of the seed doesn't matter. The size of the seed doesn't matter. So if I have an acorn the size of my hand, and I plant it, what is it going to produce? That's right, an oak tree. If I have an acorn the size of a quarter, and I plant it, what is it going to produce? An oak tree. So the size of the seed doesn't really matter. What matters is the consistency of my planting. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So the size of the seed doesn't really matter because it's going to produce that which it's supposed to produce, okay? The seed has everything that it needs to deliver. In the 2-hour movie that we saw at the beginning, everything that seed needs to grow more, to go from the point where it was put into the ground to the point that we saw at the very end, after that minute, after that 8 months, has everything inside it that it needs. It's our job to protect what's inside that seed that we're sowing. But it has everything that it needs. Did you notice that seed, it grew in 2 directions? Right? It grew up and it grew down. Did you notice that? It established roots, right? The roots is the most important part because that's where the nourishment comes from, to feed my seed and then ultimately the tree. So what I'm rooted in is the most important thing. When we go to conferences, we like to give out gifts. And one of the things that we give out a lot, because a lot of the people in the industry that we serve are women. So we'll give out roses because everyone will say, well, who gave you that rose? And that'll drive people to our booth. So one year we had the bright idea of having blue roses because the color of our organization, our colors are black, like navy blue, and royal blue. So we got this bright idea to get 30 dozen roses, these big tubs, fill them up with water, put blue dye in them, and stick the roses in them. And then, of course, the roses would pull on the water, and then the blue dye would ultimately get into the white petals. It worked, except for it was a mess. Because, when we handed them out, we had to pull them out of the water, and then blue dye got on people's clothes, so it was a bad idea. It was ultimately a bad idea. But the point is, that blue dye eventually got to the petals. So whatever we're rooted in, whatever I'm rooted in, if it's my spiritual soil or my financial soil or the people that are around me, it's going to affect me as a leader, right? It's going to come out in me. So it's very important to be careful about what you're rooted in because in your growth, you're going to kind of create your root system. And your root system is so important to your overall growth. Leaders sow a great deal and often. So again, the size of the seed doesn't necessarily matter because as a leader, we're going to sow a lot into the people that follow us, into the people that have influence, but we have to do it often, right? So it's almost like me offering you $5,000 right now and walking away, or offering you $100 a week for the rest of your life, right? I don't know about you, I take the $100 a week for the rest of my life, right? So we sow a lot as leaders, but what's important is we be consistent and we sow often. And not just, let me sow into the people that I lead today and tomorrow I'm not going to be intentional about that, right? We have to do it often. We have to be very, very consistent in doing that. Leaders, you keep the seed healthy. You keep the seed healthy. I have to keep it healthy because I need the product on the other end, right? So if I sow into your life, if I say something to you, if I give you a compliment, which is a seed, or the people that I lead, if I give you a compliment, I can't follow up that compliment and say, but you didn't do this. Or at an awards banquet, I'm going to sow a seed, I'm going to give you an award, and I'm telling everybody how great you are, but then I tell people, yeah, they're great, but they didn't do this. That's not keeping my seed healthy. So I got to keep the seed. I got to keep the things that I sow into your lives. I got to keep those things healthy. So you can't damage your seed. You can't damage the things that you sow into people's lives. It's very important to make sure that you protect it and keep it healthy. You rarely damage a seed. A leader doesn't damage their seed. They are so conscious of sowing into other people's lives and sowing into those that they lead and sowing to the people that they have influence over. They don't damage the things that they sow into those people, because they know how important it is, especially if it's something that takes you a long time to develop, to sow into them. You don't want to damage that, right? And what's interesting is what I learned about, say, harvesting, and JR, you were a sharecropper, I bet you can attest to this. Did you know that you could damage the seed during the harvest? Because we don't plant the tree, we plant the seed. The seed comes from the tree. There's seed in an apple. We don't plant the apple, we plant the seeds that are in the apple. But when I'm harvesting the apples, if I'm not gentle with my harvesting, or if I'm not gentle when I harvest, I can damage the seed, because a part of my harvest is seed. You get that? A part of what I harvest is seed that I have to plant again to create more. So I can actually damage that seed when I'm harvesting it. So I have to be very careful and be very gentle, even in that process, when I'm so excited about, ooh, look what's here. Let's run out here and let's get it. No, I got to be gentle, even in the harvesting. That make sense? Okay. Y'all got jet lag too? It's okay. We're going to keep going. We're going to do this. Let's talk about some of the seeds of a leader. I have to sow trust as a leader. If I want it, I have to sow trust as a leader. I told you once before, trust is like currency. It's like money, right? So if you're not careful, you can lose it. And when you lose it, it's so much harder to get that back, right? If you lose $1,000 that you just earned, man, that's $1,000 gone. But now I still need $1,000 to pay my bills. So now, how am I going to make that up? It's harder, so much harder. So one of the things that you can sow as a leader is trust. Another thing that you can sow as a leader is respect, and they work hand in hand. And what's interesting is respect means something different to most people. We have a general knowledge of respect. I'm not going to walk in and not say hello to you. I'm not going to come spit on your shoes. That's general stuff. But then, do you know in some countries, to shake a man's hand, that's disrespectful, right? Aretha Franklin said, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. So general things, absolutely. But then there may be some other things. You know, if you talk about certain things that are very important to me, if you talk about them in a negative way, I may view that as disrespectful. But you won't know that until you have a relationship with me. So the people that you lead, the people that you are important to you, the people that follow you, the people that you have influence over, you need to know about those little simple nuances that they may find disrespectful. So respect, and you'll get respect back. It's impossible for you to respect everyone and not be respected. It's impossible. Impossible. Leaders sow empowerment. Now, you have to be confident to sow empowerment, right? Because what you're doing is you're giving up some power. You have to trust that that power is not going to be misused. And you have to be confident in who you are when you give up this power. Because it makes you stronger to give up power than weaker. You have to be a strong person to say, you know what, I want you to do this now. You have total control over this. You make the decisions. That's a huge seed to sow into people that you influence on a day-to-day basis. Goals. Leaders sow goals, right? Because you want to help the people help you reach your vision, reach your goal, your ultimate goal. So you want to help them reach their goals. I was in a conference in California, and we were in Silicon Valley, which is the biggest hub for technology, period. The wealth there is ridiculous. Made me go, you know what, I've been playing in the sandbox. I got to step it up. And we're going to talk more about that when we start talking about surroundings, because the surrounding that I was in, again, made me look like I was in kindergarten, or made me feel like I was in kindergarten, so I got to step it up, right? And so we talked about helping people, other people, obtain their goals. And if you want your goals reached, I dare you to help 4 or 5 people reach their goals. Because that's one of the things as a leader you can sow into other people by helping them reach their goals. And the people that are on your team, the people that, again, that you have influence over, give them goals. And then help them reach those goals. And when it comes to goal setting, like let's say my goal is to lose 100 pounds, right? That's kind of daunting in my mind right now. But I can go to the gym every day. So let me boil my goal down to a daily goal. I can go to the gym every day. I cannot eat French fries every day. I can drink a protein shake, right? So if I can do that every single day, ultimately, I'll hit my 100 pounds. So 100 pounds, that's the planet. That's way out there in space. That's where I want to get to. But let me break that down to what can I do every single day that will ultimately get me there. So help folks that you lead, help them establish goals that way. And even for yourself, establish and reach your goals that way. The leader will sow a roadmap. Not so much so telling people what to do, right? But you have experience. If you're in a leadership position, you have experience and you've been there and you've done that. Most oftentimes you can't take someone somewhere that you've never been, right? So share with the individuals a roadmap to getting to where they want to go based on your knowledge, based on your experience, and just based on your gut sometimes as well. But help them with developing a roadmap that reduces their learning curve and makes them feel better about going down this road or taking on this journey. So sow that into their lives, sow a roadmap into their lives. Now I want to talk about the sower. I want to talk about you. Say not you. Tell the person next to you, not you, but the other person. A leader is intentional about sowing. Now, what does that mean? Intentional means when I get up, I think about sowing. I make it my purpose to sow into the lives of others. I make it my purpose to look for opportunities to sow. Does it mean that I sow every chance that I get? Nope, because every now and then you're going to get this feeling in your gut that says, no. But I recognize the opportunity. There are some people that go, no, because they never recognize the opportunity. As a leader, I want to recognize opportunities to sow because I know that that's a part of what I do. That's a part of who I am. I will be intentional when it comes to sowing. A leader knows when and when not to sow. Who knows what a perennial is? Isn't it called a perennial? Somebody know? A couple hands went up. They're flowers, right? Certain flowers are categorized as that, right? Can you plant those flowers at any time of the year? Right? You can't, can you? Because they won't what? They won't grow because they only grow during certain times of the year. They only grow under certain conditions. So when it comes to you planting into others or sowing into others, you have to know when to sow and when not to. Okay? That's really important. Leaders know that the livelihood of the team depends on how and when they sow. We're leaders, we're responsible, we're the captain of this ship, right? We influence people, they follow us, we have a vision. So we know that if we're not sowing into their lives, it's going to affect the whole team. It's going to affect us getting from point A to point B. It's going to affect my credibility as a leader. And if I want to see real growth, I'm developing other leaders. But if I'm not doing this stuff, I can't develop other leaders. That's when you get exponential growth, when you start developing other leaders. A leader sows into her inner circle first. Why do I sow into my inner circle first? Those are the people that are closest to me, right? Those are the people that's going to affect me the most. My inner circle, that's the soil that you saw that acorn in, right? So I need to be sowing into my inner circle. I need to be sowing to those that are closest to me first because they affect me the most. They affect me the most. So my team, there are other teams in the organization. There are other cell groups. There are other, softball teams or what have you. If I'm a leader, I got to take care of mine first. I got to sow into my soil first, then I can sow into other places, which I should because the law of reciprocity works, period, whether or not but I need to sow into my soil first. That's how I look at it. My inner circle, the people that are closest to me that help me elevate or that can bring me down, I need to sow into them first. Okay? Whoa, what did I do? We're back. A leader's reach is increased by his sowing, right? So if I sow into 1,000 of you, that's going to reach at least 1,000 people if you sow into one person. If you sow into 5, that's 5,000. That 5,000 sows into somebody else, that's another 10,000. And then we see that our seed has reached and expanded to so many others. But it's about my sowing as much as I possibly can and as often as I can so that I can reach others. And why do I want to reach others? Because you never, ever know who you may need to help you fulfill your vision. Right? So I want to reach as many people as I possibly can. And doing research for this, I found out that an oak tree produces about the same amount of acorns every single year for about 6 years. Around year 7, it automatically produces about double the amount of acorns. Right? It just does that. And it does that because it doesn't want the environment that it's in to get used to the amount that it normally produces. The squirrels that take them away, the deer, the weather that could possibly damage the acorns, because the acorns know, or the tree knows that the acorns is all about its future generations. So it overproduces its seed, right? To make sure that those more trees can still come up and reach so many more people, right? So we need to be able to reach as many people as we can with our sowing. Leaders understand the relationship of sowing and reaping. There's a relationship in every aspect of sowing and every aspect of reaping. You need to understand the relationship with the seed that you sow and in the ground that you sow it in. They have a relationship. That seed in the ground, they have a relationship. When the oak tree came out of the ground, that stem and the wind, they have a relationship. If the wind is too strong, if the wind is too heavy, it could damage it, right? If it's in the wrong climate, the sun could kill it. That stem that came up and the sun has a relationship. As a leader, you need to understand all of the relationships from the time you plant into someone up until you see that harvest, that you see the greatness, that you see the wonder that you're trying to get. Okay? You have to understand all of the relationships. So, characteristics of a sowing leader. Sowing is a way of life. You're intentional about it. After a while, you will just see opportunities, I promise you. You'll just see opportunities to sow, especially into the people that are in your organization or the people that you are leading or the people that you are responsible for, right? It's a way of life. Consistency is more important than the size of the seed. Consistency, consistency, consistency. If I can sow a good words or a good thought into somebody's life today, but I never ever do it again, how do I really impact them? I need to do it regularly. Leaders teach team members the importance of sowing, right? So just imagine if you had a team full of people or an organization full of people or a family full of people and everybody's just trying to outgive everybody. The kids are trying to outgive the parents are trying to outgive the kids, the husband is trying to outgive the wife is trying to outgive the husband. Can you imagine what would happen, especially since we understand the laws of sowing and reaping? It would be phenomenal, right? So you must teach the team the importance of sowing so that that can be a part of their lifestyle as well. Leaders give sacrificially. We talked about this before. As a leader, you sacrifice more than anybody. You sacrifice more than anybody. You don't look to the folks that you lead to sacrifice more than you. As the leader, you're going to make the greatest sacrifice when? All the time. Okay? Leaders, again, leave legacies. Leaders are legacy focused. Leaders look at what's going on right now, but leaders are thinking about how this same situation is going to look when I'm not here. Right? I heard Bishop T.D. Jakes once say, his great grandkids are going to walk by his picture. and say, I never met him, but Papa was bad. Right? Because he expects to leave a great legacy, right? So we are legacy focused. It's easy for us to be short-sighted, but we want to be legacy focused. We want to think about those that are coming behind us. And again, not only think about that, we want to think about who we want to be responsible for our legacies, and we want to, at some point, pass the baton to get them ready to create their legacy to leave to the next group that's coming behind them. Now, the surrounding. So we talked about the seed. We talked about you, the sower. Let's talk about the surrounding. Surrounding is very important. The environment will decide if your seed survives. The environment will decide, period, if your seed survives. Right? So imagine a husband running into the house, bringing a big bouquet of flowers, handing those flowers to his wife. Right? And the wife says, oh, this is wonderful. And then the husband says, this house is a mess. You ain't cooked none today? What's going to happen to that environment? And then what's going to happen to that seed that was just sown? You might get hit with some roses, right? Guys, the environment is so important that you establish. The environment where that acorn was in the ground, it was a perfect environment. It was in soil that had nutrients to help it grow. The ground was stable so that the root can grow down, and then everything else, the rest of that seed could grow up. The environment is so important. So you want to make sure you create good environments for those that you lead. You can't have a messed up environment and expect there to be growth. You can't have contention. You can't have anger. You can't have hostility and expect there to be growth in that environment. Okay? So the environment will decide if your seed survives. Watermelons do not grow in Alaska. It's all about the surrounding. You can't plant watermelons, in Alaska. They won't grow. Why won't they grow? It's too cold. There's not a lot of sun, right? So don't expect for certain seeds that you plant to just automatically grow if the environment is not conducive for that seed to grow. Now, a watermelon can grow, that's why I say unless you create or you simulate an environment in that place, right, that will allow that watermelon to grow, right? But still, even then, you're limited to the amount of watermelon that you can have, even in that simulated environment. Right? So the environment is so important. Leaders know when it's time to change the environment or change environments. Meaning, we're in here, and this isn't a good environment for us to be in here, so we need to change something about in here. But after we change that, we're still not getting the results that we need to get. So we change something else. After we change that, we're not getting the results that we need to get. Well, maybe this environment is not conducive for the growth that we need. So let's go to another environment. Let's move out of here and let's go somewhere else. So a leader is conscious of a lack of growth in the current environment and the things that may be affecting the lack of growth. And then the leader is okay with, well, let's pick up here, let's go over here, and let's just change our environment. Okay? We're talking about the surroundings. Leaders guard their giving and their surroundings. So I'm going to guard the surrounding that I create. I'm going to guard that earth, right? And I'm going to guard that seed. I'm not going to let animals come dig it up. I'm not going to let, the rabbits come snatch up the carrots. I'm going to guard that seed. I'm going to guard my surrounding. So I'm going to put up a fence if I need to. I'm not going to let certain people come in there if they don't know how to act in this area, because I got to protect that seed, right? Because that seed is going to affect my future. So I have to guard, I have to protect my giving, and I have to protect the surroundings. A leader does not let just anyone touch the thermostat, right? You ever been in a place where somebody's too hot, and then somebody's too cold, and the person that's too cold, they come in, and it's freezing, And then they go turn the thermostat, and then somebody else, and then somebody yells, normally the mom, don't anybody touch this thermostat again. But then there might be a couple people that know how to regulate it, right? Properly, to make sure the environment is just right. So I know mom is going to be cold when she gets home, so right before she gets home, I know enough to turn it. But my little brother, he's not smart enough to do that, so he cannot touch the thermostat, right? Because my surroundings and my environment is so important. So don't just let anybody touch the thermostat in your organization, in your home, in your group, in whatever it is that you're leading, in your lives. There are people that can push a button that can adjust your personal temperature. Don't allow them to do that. That affects your personal growth. Yeah, I know it's your cousin, you ain't seen him in a long time, but every time they come around, you get hot. Every time, right? You can't let anybody touch your thermostat. Surroundings are so important. A leader's focus is to create the Garden of Eden. Did you know Adam was placed in the garden? Everything Adam needed to survive was in that garden. Everything. So a leader's job is to identify and to create gardens of Eden for its followers, his or her followers, for the seeds that they sow in their lives, for the thoughts that they have. I'm not going to take my thought, my idea, and go over here to Junebug with every time I come with an idea, Junebug's asking me to borrow $5 instead of listening to my idea. No, we're not going to put that over there. We're going to place it in gardens of Edens. That's what we're going to do. We're going to create gardens of Eden. So how do I do that? I create people around me that think like me, right? So I can take certain things to that garden, right? So people around me, there are certain places that I want to go. The experience I had when I went to, like I said, when I went to California, I went to this, and I'll just take a brief little side note, because I'm teaching to me because I just experienced this. In Silicon Valley, there are literally billions of dollars worth of wealth, all technology, okay? And this particular conference was for African Americans in technology. The majority of the people that came to the conference came from somewhere else, because in Silicon Valley, there are not that many African Americans in technology. As a matter of fact, they know each other, and we can almost name them now, being there. But that surrounding, that environment was all about what's right about an idea and not what's wrong about an idea. You ever take an idea or a suggestion to somebody, and they're just like, well, you can't do that because, you can't do that because, you can't. Instead of going, wow, that's good because, and that's good because, and we could probably, the mindset, the surrounding, totally different. So change my perspective when it comes to technology, when it comes to the attitude about what I do, totally different, changed everything, right? And that's because of the surrounding that I was in, which means now in order for me to maintain that, I have to be in that surrounding more, or have to be in that surrounding more often, or have to be around certain people more often that have that thought process. Because if I'm having $1, $2, $3 million conversations and somebody else is having $25, $30 million conversations like it's $15, like it's possible and this is how we do it, I need to be in that surrounding more often, right? So then I can teach other people what I learned and bring them along the way and to sow seeds. You see? So the surrounding is so important. Why do you think in a zoo, you can have a huge cage, right? And you can put lions in that cage, or any animal for that matter. Why do you think the lion or the other animals know what to do if the gate opens? How do it's like, okay, the lion's in there chilling. Because the zoos will simulate their environment. They got the boulders, and they got the rocks, and they got the wood, the fake wood, and they got, It's high, they got everything, but why do you think the animals know that, well, if that gate opens, then I need to leave this place, right? Because it's not their proper surrounding. It's not what they were accustomed to. It's not in them. They know that that surrounding is not good for them, and I need to be out there. That's where I need to be, right? So I would challenge you to look at your personal surroundings, especially the people that are in your surroundings, and say, you know, am I in the right surroundings, or do I need to open the gate, right? Because the lion is going to leave if the gate opens, but how does he know to go through the gate and not say, you got everything. We gave you everything that you had back home, right? But he knows something's not right about this surrounding. And this surrounding is not going to help me grow and to be great and be the king that I'm supposed to be. We're going to sum it up. Some things that you got to do in order to make sure you grow. You got to innovate. That means you got to look at something, even if it's something that you do all the time. How can I make it better? What can I do to change it? Just change stuff just to change it. That will help you grow, I promise you. Diversity. One of the meeting that we had was Silicon Valley is, again, it's very robust, a lot of wealth out there. There's not a whole lot of diversity. But diversity will take it to a whole nother level, because anything that evolves or changes or grows, diversity is required. If you look at the rainforest, some of the most robust places on the earth has a great deal of diversity, diverse, animals, plant life, what have you. Communities, if you look at communities around the country, the best communities are diverse communities. The best shopping centers, that's why you see shopping centers, or you see places now where you can live, where you can shop, and where you can work. That's diversity. So those places are really, really popular and doing really well. So diversity is key. You don't want everybody thinking like you and solving the problem like you. You want diverse ideas, diverse thoughts, diverse people in your organization. That's how you make it better. A thriving environment. I have to have a thriving environment because, just like those roses, if I'm not in a thriving environment, that just the blue's gonna come up to my petals, and that's it. Whatever I'm rooted in, whatever I'm grounded in, that's gonna come up through me. So I need to be in a thriving environment. Motive. In order for there to be growth, I have to have a motive, right? We don't do anything without one. Nothing. You don't get up out of the bed without a motive. I promise you. You will sleep. Anybody ever slept all day Saturday? Anybody? Ever stayed in bed all day on a Saturday? Yeah, a few people. You don't want to raise your hand, but you did? Okay. You did it because you didn't have a reason to get up. That's why you did it. You didn't have anywhere to go. The kids were gone. You didn't have nothing to do. I'm just going to do this. If your bills can get paid, probably you might do it more often. We don't do anything without a motive. So have a motive for your growth. I don't know, it might be your kids. It might be your organization. It might be your motorcycle club. I don't know. But you have to have a motive big enough to want to grow. You have to have a motive big enough to want to make a change. And the last thing is competition. One of the things I learned also is typically, if we want to see growth, have some friendly competition. Some competition can go kind of haywire and not be positive and not be good for us, right? But have some friendly competition and you'll see growth. If you really care, because that'll push you to do better, right? I'm not saying try to, live like the Joneses. I'm not suggesting that at all. But even if you have an accountability partner that cares about you and you care about them, push them, right? And even say, well, I'm going to beat you to this particular goal if you guys have similar goals. But friendly competition will help you do that. It will help you grow. So growth, the seed, the sower, and the surroundings, very important. You got to change to grow. We have to change to grow. Put yourself in other surroundings. Put yourself in environments that's not like yours. And just become the best giver and the most intentional giver that you can possibly be. All right? Very good. Thank you.
Let's give him a hand. Let's give him a hand. Come on, give him a hand. And let's get ready for $1 million offering as we do this. Roger said that you were in Silicon Valley, and I just said, because I don't want to lose that. And you talked about environments, and you talked about thriving
and you went to an environment where I know when I went to Manhattan for the first time I went to Manhattan, New York, I sat there and I said, man, God, you can feel, and I don't want to get on a conversation of money, but you can feel wealth, but you can feel the environment. And I just want to hone on this because we got families here, we got mothers, fathers, single mothers, we got parents, and one of the things that we want to do is that we want to thrive and we want to grow as a culture, as a people, and as believers in Christ. You saw something in Silicon Valley that I do believe that God was trying to help take you to another level so that you can share with us, because Bishop's been preaching this for years. That key word, environment, is, can you just stress that again? Because you were in an environment, because you are around millions, you were in an environment now, they just think billions, and we're trying to get to another level. Can you just hone on that just a little bit more?
Can you hear me? Okay, so it reminded me also, when my kids were much younger, I would get 3 girls, and we would go on a trip, and we would drive to New York, and we'd hang out all day, and we'd drive right back. I know it's crazy. And then sometimes I would get the boys, they really didn't care to do it, but I would get out the boys. And one day, Benjamin was like 7 years old, and we pulled into Manhattan, and Benjamin was asleep, and he woke up, and he just saw lights. He was 7 years old, I'll never forget, he said, why would anyone not want to live here? His mind was blown, like, okay, this is it, this is the Mecca. And the interesting thing about Silicon Valley, and you said you don't want to talk about money, they don't talk about money. They talk about changing the world. They talk about coming up with ideas that can change the world. The money is a byproduct of that. They talk about things that will enhance lives. And the other thing was, I realized that I had so much noise in my head that I couldn't think about creating some incredible things. Because that helped me, first of all, I was in that environment, and they're constantly in the mindset of, what's the next greatest thing? What's the next greatest thing? What's the next greatest thing that's going to change the world? But my mind was still bogged down with, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with this. And I realized there wasn't space enough for those two things. So it wasn't even about money. Money is about product, and they live really well. Most of the millionaires that walk around, you could not tell they're millionaires. They don't walk around with custom suits on. They don't walk around with, $700 shoes on, tennis shoes, jeans, and t-shirts. But they're worth $10 billion. Not million, $1 billion. So it's almost like, who has the nicest backpack? That's the big thing when it comes to spending money in Silicon Valley. But the total environment, everybody is helpful. Everybody is warm. On the East Coast, when you talk with people about ideas, they want you to sign a non-disclosure agreement, right? Because they want to make sure that you don't steal their idea. People in Silicon Valley, they're so busy working on their idea, they don't care about stealing your idea. So you can tell them about your idea, and they'll immediately start giving you ideas about your idea. So the environment is totally different when it comes to, just specifically technology and helping people grow.
That's what I wanted you to elaborate on, because the money is the byproduct, the idea. If you just have an idea, and if we could also believe God for better environments, believe God that He would give us an idea, because we're talking about $1 million givers. Who knows, someone in here may have the next idea. That's what I think we're trying to make money, but it begins with an idea. Or thought. That's what I wanted, and the environment to create ideas with your children, with the environment. So that's what I just wanted to pull out of it, because the money will come, but get the idea, right?
They don't even think about money. There's so much money, they don't even think about money. And then the thing about it, there you can have a bad idea that is extraordinary here. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like it's so much there that you can have a bad idea and still do real well. You can have a bad idea and do real well. There are millions. So in Silicon Valley, there are a lot of venture capitalists, and they fund all of these ideas. They fund these technology products. Venture capitalists fail 75% of the time. So they put millions of dollars into things that have failed 75% of the time. But they keep doing it because that 25% is ridiculous.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Praise God. Let's thank God. God for him tonight.